just give us the quick overview of the whole unit offensively in terms of your line.
Like Coach said, I feel good about our first two groups, better than I felt the whole time I've been here, as far as having 10 guys that can go out there and function on this level, communication, seeing movement on defense, being able to react the way we want them to movements and situations, and understand when it's third and short, third and long, and use the technique that I want them to use. And we're not all 10 are, physically to the point where they're going to be. We got some young guys, but I feel really good about our depth. Right now, the first five guys, feel great about the left side, with Wyatt and Tomas. Yates is doing a really good job of continuing to get better every day, straining more, learning the center position in pressure situations. We put him down there and had a goal line snap about a week ago, and he snaps it over the quarterback's head. And I told him, I said, look, man, that's a learning moment. Anybody can come out here and snap that ball against air. I said, but when you're going against a 320-pound nose guard, we've got to get those reps. That's where he's continuing to grow there. We had a goal line period yesterday where we had about 4 plays of, really high pressure, under center, 6-0 lineman coming off the ball kind of deal. And we had all 4 of them were really good exchanges. So feel good about where he is. Right now, Hubbard is playing at a higher level than he's played since he's been here. He's all in. He's one of the hardest workers on the offensive line. Really changed his body. Really changed, and he's got a mindset of positivity and a mindset of working hard and always doing extra, and it's paying off. You can see it paying off by the way he's playing right now. And Malone at tackle, got to continue to press him to play with better pad level. He's a really, really smart player. Sometimes he overthinks, but his athleticism, you can tell. He runs better than Wyatt, like outside zone, stuff like that. He's running really, really well. So that group has gelled together. 4 of them are seniors, one's a junior. So you're getting a lot of what you expect as far as those guys looking downfields, looking at linebackers, looking at safeties, making calls, picking stuff up, and they're really working together good.
For Wyatt, what's the next step you want him to take?
The next step for Wyatt is just being an elite pass protector off the edge. That's something that he's got to continue to work, and he's really taking his game to the next level. He's working on, Jens Danielson, who's my assistant line coach, has done a phenomenal job of really, that was what we did all, when you got a player like Zach and like Wyatt, you got to find ways to coach them because they're really, really good at what they do. They work really hard. They're older. You got to find things for them to work on to get them. It's just like if you're a teacher in a classroom and you got really gifted students and you got some students that struggle, you got to figure out how to teach them all. And that's what we really work hard at, is having things for Wyatt to work on to get him to be that elite pass protector on third and long off the edge. He's going to be challenged, week 1, he's going to be challenged with one of the best pass rushers, if not the best pass rusher in college football this year. So that's the next step we're trying to take with him. Say it again?
It sounds like you've got something up your sleeve there.
Well, it's not. It's just continually working on the type of sets you take, not always doing the same thing. Understanding body demeanor from the defensive line, understanding, linebacker leverage, and really trying to hone down and understand what that guy's going to do. If you can hone it down to he's either going to do this or this, well, it's a lot better than just sitting off the ball and going, wow, I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to speed me. He's going to bull me. He's going to go inside, whatever it is. So that's something that, and it's a lot of studying. It's a lot of film watching, and it's a lot of, working on just technique at practice with his hands. We're just doing all those little things to help him, become, because he wants to be the best, and that's what he will do whatever you ask him to do to be the best.
You've got expectations for this group. For it to perform the way you want it to, what does that entail? What does that look like?
Communication's number one. We've been, for the PFF for 2 years in a row, we've been one of the highest rated offensive lines for getting hats on hats. It's a percentage of unblocked players at the point of attack, I believe, is what we've been top 3, for 2 years in a row. And that is a huge part. You want to move people. You want to knock people back. But what you don't want to do is knock somebody back one time and then turn a guy loose 2 times. You know what I mean? So it's about communications, number one, understanding defenses, getting hats on hats. And then, the second part is just straining, straining every snap, understanding that to play the offensive line, you got to strain every single snap. And that's the two things we work on and we talk about every single day is attention to detail and strain. And if offensive line, if you can do that every single day and continue to get better and better. So that's what I'm looking for is attention to detail would be the communication part. We got to be great communicators and we just got to strain. We got to run our feet. We got to strain. We're playing some great defenses this year.
One other thing here, your career, you've predominantly played specific guys a lot, got a lot of snaps. Are you at the point now where you can force yourself to maybe play some more guys and rotate them around a little bit more? Are you at that point yet where you can do that?
Well, I'm closer than I've ever been of being able, if you went up there today and you watched us play, you would have no idea who the starting five were because every period I had different guys working with it. It's not just going ones and twos, it's going 3 of the starters, 2 of the second team guys, and then 3 of the second team guys and 2 starters. And, you got to sit here and look at, okay, has Hubbard played beside Tomas enough? Has Wyatt played, beside Sully enough? Has, Landon played in the middle between the starting guards? Because, how you got, like it was last year, you never know. We had 7 guys that started different games, and you got to try to go through camp and make yourself. And the hard part about it is when you're going against a defense and you're wanting to win, you want your best 5 in there, but you got to make yourself go, hey, this is going to help us down the road. If we can take and work these guys together and they got a good relationship and they understand each other, that's what you want. That's when you feel good about rotating guys in by series and try to keep them fresh.
That's a component of having the depth, the quality player.
Yes. And you got to put them in those situations on a Saturday night in the stadium during the camp. I got to put Landon Livingston with a starting group and see what he can do. I got to put Nick Cray with a starting group to see what he can do. I got to put Johnny Williams with a starting crew to see what he can do against the best guys and, to see if those guys, that's where you want to find out if they're going to, if the bright lights are going to get to them. You want to find that out in the stadium in August before you find it out in September,
Through that process of seeing what people can do, they get that shot, in this scrimmage, in this whatever, and maybe they're still a little bit short. How much time is there to give them that next shot? How do you, continue that process of evaluating them to see when they might be ready?
Yeah, well, the way we got the schedule set up is we're going to have 4 days where it's going to be really physical, really get after it, high pressure situations. And that's where, so you got 4 times and, if you don't do it, then you're not going to do it, And that's the way, if you don't do it, you're not going to do it. And we're going to wait till spring ball next year and see if you can do it then.
You mentioned them, what do you think of that backup group, the second group right now?
I feel as good about it, better about those guys than I have since I've been here. Johnny Williams is playing really well. He's got to continue to get stronger, but he's playing really well. Sully Weedman's playing better than he's played since he's been here. He's had a better camp. He's cleaner. He's playing with better fundamentals. Landon Livingston is really making a run. He finally got his weight up. He's a really athletic kid, really smart, does a really good job of communicating. Nick Cray is a guy that's just, this kid weighed 240 pounds when we were recruiting him. His high school, his senior year of high school, he's 303 pounds and is very little fat on him. Like he's really, his body's really developed. He's a big basketball player, so he's really athletic. And then, Xavier Balsley at the right tackle. Same thing with him. He's completely changed his body since he got here in January of last year and just, continuing to come along, and he can play both tackles. Malone can play both tackles. Johnny can play both tackles. And we're just constantly moving guys around because that's what you want to try to be is don't just pigeonhole them in one spot. Try to get them where they can play multiple spots.
I think realistic, you could have a 9-man rotation.
I could have 9 guys that could play. I don't know if it'd be realistic to say, hey, I'm going to roll these 9 guys in. I hope I got it where I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter who's in there. Let's go play. That's what I'm shooting for is to get it to that point.
How does it change for you at all, having so much more experience around the line on offense? So a lot of the returning receivers coming back, obviously Green a full season under his belt.
Yeah, it's totally different than last year.
Right.
Last year we had to be able to be good at running the ball, right? Because that was like, we wasn't real sure, with a new quarterback, with a bunch of young receivers. But now the guys I'm seeing we've got on the edge, Bilal's doing a phenomenal job out there with those guys. They're blocking their butts off. And you go back and you look at a lot of the runs we had last year, they were going to be good runs, but they turned into great runs because P. Fox is blocking a safety. but, we had guys downfield working those blocks, but like our whole offense is better. Last year, I knew we were going to be good up front. With Zach anchoring us in the middle, I felt good about the quarterback run game but the rest of it kind of came along later in the season. But yeah, I feel better about our whole offensive group and the receiver room. I'm really impressed with. Of course, the running back room, we got 2 phenomenal guys, and we got some other young guys that are coming along. And the tight end room, I mean, that thing's really coming along. We got 2 high-quality tight ends with a lot of reps, and we got some young guys. We got Greg Generos, that kid, he looks great, and he's just learning. He's like a freshman, and he is a really good-looking kid, and he's done some really good things. So I'm excited about the weapons that we have on offense, as opposed to last year. It was more just like it was more just smash mouth every time. You know what I mean?
I'd imagine there's less pressure, but there's also the end of not wanting to feel too comfortable that, if I miss this, then Preston will pick it up.
Yeah, but I mean, with my guys, it's like, and that's, y'all were talking about Frazier earlier with Coach Brown, like Frazier set a standard. Like, he set a standard, and he was the guy I pointed at for 4 years. Be like him, do like him, work like him, study like him, practice like him, play like him. And these guys around him, they all did that. They all did that. Him and Doug both. And both of those guys, I mean, Doug's in a camp, White's in a camp. Those were 2 really good linemen that we lost. But these other guys, they want to hold that standard. They're not sitting there going, we don't have to be as good. And we may be a little bit different by the way we do things, but I think we got a chance to be just as good as we were last year up front.
Just to be clear here on some of these backups, natural positions. Livingston, what's his natural
Center.
position? Center. Cray,
Guard tackle.
so right, left?
Right.
Right. And then Williams, obviously left tackle. Bosley, right tackle. Weedman,
Left guard.
left guard. Okay.
So continue the evaluation with the true freshmen. What are you seeing out of them?
Well, there's 2 guys. There's 2 other guys that are in that second group that are really doing well. Is Biggs and Cooper Young. Those 2 guys are getting a lot of reps with that second group too. Cooper being a center and a guard, and Biggs being both guards. Both those guys have played a lot the past couple of days and do a really good job. With the incoming freshmen, feel really good about Lucas Austin. He's doing a really good job at left tackle. That's another kid that weighed 240 pounds his senior year of high school, and he's sitting right at that 295 spot. He's really athletic. He actually set the school scoring record in basketball, so he's a really athletic kid. Justin Terry, the right tackle, is really coming along. He's a kid from Pickering, Ohio, and was under the radar. He's a 330-pound kid that now he can move his feet. I think we're really going to like what you see out of him. He's got a lot of nasty in him. Really excited about what he's doing. And with Altuner, when we get him back, I think he's going to be a special player also. So I feel really good about those guys.
You were talking earlier about the improvements that your guys made across the board with their bodies over the offseason. With as much weight as they can shed just at normal practice, how important then is what Mike Joseph and his staff does with your guys over the offseason, and the nutrition staff as well, what they've been doing?
So like Malone's one of those guys that'll lose 11 pounds in a day. And he's gained every bit of that back every time. He's done it just about every full padded practice or shells practice. And our nutrition, Haley and Bailey in nutrition, and what Mike Joseph and his guys do, they do a phenomenal job. They take care of they make sure these guys, well, first of all, it's the player's responsibility to take care of their own body, right? But they do a really good job of showing them and teaching them and basically saying, hey, here it is. You take this is what you need to do. And so we've had really, knock on wood, so far, guys gaining that weight back whenever they drop it during practice. And like the off-season stuff that Mike Joseph does, I mean, I've said it over and over. He's the best in the country. He does a phenomenal job. He and his staff, they do a tremendous job with how they train these big guys. And you can ask Frazier, you can ask Doug. Those guys have gone to the next level. McKivitz, they'll tell you the same thing, man. You're not going to find anybody better than what Mike Joseph does. They don't always love him, but they appreciate him.
How many pounds are you losing per practice?
I'm sitting right there at about the 4.5, 5, but I got no problem putting it back on. I hit that cafeteria, it's back like that, no problem.
Athletics is a lot of the success in athletics has to do with mindset.
Yes.
What is the difference in the mindset between offensive linemen, say, and a defensive lineman, or offensive lineman and a linebacker? What are you looking for in how they think?
So offensive linemen, less emotional. less emotion. You got to be. Like I tell my guys all the time. For you to get on the field, we got to trust you. And for us to trust you, you've got to go out there and do the same thing over and over. Now, if this is as good as you are, I want you to be this all the time. I don't want this and this. So you got to be non-emotional, and you got to be the same guy every day. You got to be the same guy every snap. Where now, if this, like Frazier was up here, but he was like that every day, right? So I'm looking for non-emotional guys. From a mentality standpoint, you got to be able to overcome losses. You got to have a short memory. Because there's, the only old lineman that's never lost is the one that's never played. You're going to get beat. You're going to lose a rep. But you got to be able to snap back, play the next play, and keep it rolling. You're going to jump off sides at some point. You got to, you got to be ready to go. You got to have a really short memory. Ego? None. None. You got to, and my room does a really good job of that. They want to start. They want to be the guy. But if the guy behind them's up and going, they'll coach them up and tell them what they're doing wrong. But yeah, no ego in our room.
This fall camp seems like a lot more emphasis on lateral movement, even like lining guys up, horizontally out of the chute and a lot of those things. Is that part of what you were talking about earlier, that last year you were more drive blocking, but this year you want to be able to be more flexible in the way that you block running plays?
Well, it's the way we teach scheme-wise our offense. We're multiple schemes. We're inside zone, which is more vertical, outside zone, more lateral, and then you have your gap stuff, which can be several different things. So really, we teach them all. And then, like last year, we played BYU. We had, 300 yards rushing, maybe more, running outside zone over and over and over. And then we play Cincinnati, and they have a plan for it. We run gap scheme, and then we run for 300. So, it's really not, we don't sit out saying, hey, this is what we're going to be. We sit out saying, okay, we want to be good at all three of these. When we go into a game, which one is working versus this team?
Do you get guys out of high school that tend to be better at one versus the other? Is there?
Yeah, you get so. Well, it's really, you got to be athletic to run the outside zone. So the guys that are kind of big, heavy-footed guys, you can kind of take that off of there. They're not going to be very good at that. So that's why we tend, like I said, Cray, Lucas, guys that are athletic that we put weight on. That's the more the guys that we're looking for, as opposed to just the big heavy guys that can down block.
You noted that there are more coaches who can now coach during practice. It looks like there are 3 offensive line. So how do you split them up? How much of a benefit is that for you?
Oh, it's been huge, especially with Jens, because I coached Jens in college. And Jens was here with us and then left, went to Mississippi State, then came back. So he and I have spent a lot of time together. We speak the same language. Jens does a phenomenal job in the run game. He is really growing as a young coach. So I'm comfortable with him. What I try to do is, you have all these reps, all these snaps, and then you try to get them all watched on film. And if we're all 4 groups are sitting in the same room, you never have enough time. So what we do is we split them up. And Ron Alexander, who is was my GA, now they call it the assistant O-line coach. He got all these titles, but he'll take the young guys and he teaches them the fundamentals. It's like I said, you got a 099 O-line class over here, right? So they're remedial. They're still learning the basic fundamentals. And then you got your 400 level graduate students, because I got 4 seniors. You can't coach them in the same room. So we do a really good job of organizing the way we teach things and making sure we're pushing this group over here, but we're also teaching this group over here, even though they're on different levels. So we work really hard. That's something that we put a lot of thought into, of using all 3 of us and make sure we're on the same page. And we're not teaching the same stuff. We're teaching high-end stuff here, fundamental stuff here. And then when these guys catch up, we'll move them over into this pile and we'll keep the guys. So that's the way we do it all year long. And it's really helped us. I think that's why we're at a spot now where I have more depth, because we've been teaching these guys on different levels until their fundamentals get where we want them.
Can you talk about the addition to the new teams in the conference and what challenges that presents you with the defenses that you'll be seeing this year that you expect to see?
I don't really know enough about them right now. I really don't. I'm a next day guy. I'm worried about camp tomorrow. Somebody said we're playing Penn State game 1. I don't know. I'm not really worried about it right now. I'm trying to make sure we're ready for this scrimmage on, next time we practice hard on Saturday. But I don't really have enough information to really comment on that.
The red zone work specifically what role does your unit have, I guess, in ensuring that there's better execution?
Well, it's, when you get in that red zone, there's a lot more going on, right? A lot more, you can get more safety blitz, you get more linebacker blitz, more movement. So that's something from an O-line standpoint, you got to know when you're in the red zone because you got your antenna, you got to put your antennas up looking for, okay, hey, this is when they could bring their safety blitz. We got to have our eyes up. We're looking for certain alignments to tell us when blitzes are coming. So that's when we use a lot of our pre-snap alignment rules and say, okay, hey, they're slid over this way. This is what's going to happen. So it's really good for us to get a lot of that red zone work because there's a lot of thinking that's going on from an O-line standpoint.
How the tight ends meshed with you? I know you got a lot more of them. You got more size there. What do you see there?
Yeah, it's been great, and that's where Jens has really helped also because when we split up, I can take when we have the tight ends, he can have tackle tight ends, I have centers guards, and so we can actually have the same voice coaching that tackle tight end room because usually it's during special teams, and Blaine is working a special team, but we've spent a lot of time with our tackle tight end, just communication. Making sure and it's been so far, knock on wood, our communication's been really good there.
Okay, anything else for Coach? Thank you very much.
All right, guys, thank y'all.